Canine Detection Collaborative, a detection dog training trio with Stacy, Barnett,
Hi.
Robin Greubel,
Hey there.
and Crystal Wing.
What's up?
With humor and a big dose of theory, our trio talks practical training advice and features interviews with top trainers and scientists. It's Canine Detection Collaborative.
Hi, everybody. This is Stacy Barnett from Canine Detection Collaborative, and I'm here with my wonderful co-hosts, Robin Greubel.
Hello.
And Crystal Wing.
Hi, friends.
And we just wrapped up a really incredible interview with Jens Frank from the Scandinavian Working Dog Institute. And we talked about all kinds of really, really cool things. And so this episode is just our reflections. And I know it sparked a lot of discussion, and we definitely all had a little bit of brain cramping during that conversation. So today we're going to talk all about those brain cramps, basically. So this is all about the brain cramps.
Lots of brain cramps.
Lots of brain cramping. So we're just going to be talking about brain cramping right now, and just kind of some of those ideas and things that kind of tickled our brains and everything, because we covered a lot of territory. You guys both had the opportunity to actually speak with him face to face. I'm just sitting there lurking, going, huh.
Yeah, there was a lot of huh.
Right. Like, huh.
Okay, Stacy, what was your biggest brain cramp?
Oh, there were quite a few. There were definitely quite a few. Probably my biggest one that I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not on board with yet. And I have to think through this a little bit more about the 10 hides in a room.
Well, it's not the 10 hides.
Or in a search area, you know?
Well, and that's why I asked the clarifying question.
Yeah.
He said it was 200 meters by 200 meters. That's
so
not
it's
a
huge.
room.
That's not a
No,
room.
but I mean, it's still a search area. So I'm picturing, especially, I guess, because I'm coming from the perspective of nose work, right?
Right.
So we have these big odors. And if you have 10 hides with huge odor.
But he's not saying huge odor.
Right.
Yeah, but that's my perspective. Keep that in mind. So for me, I'm thinking about our odor is just naturally big, and I'm picturing 10 hides. And I guess because I'm picturing nose work handlers going out and putting out 10 hides and then just kind of seeing what happens. And so for me, I'm understanding, I'm trying to come from that perspective, because that's kind of where I live.
Instead of getting stuck on the 10 hides, think about it more as if you put out 3 hides and your dog only finds 1.
Yeah.
Then that's giving you information.
Yes.
Yes. So it's more.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah. It's more about the percentage of finds versus how many hides. And so that was the question that I asked, because we get pressured a lot from the professional detection side to have a high level of proficiency, a find rate when you set hides. And so then, when talking through it with him, he's like, well, that tells me that, or at least the way I interpreted
that's too easy. That is too
then
easy.
It's the trainer is being unimaginative.
Right.
And
Agreed.
Which totally agree. And which really makes me start to think then about how we're setting up our training. Yes, we're doing it to benefit our dog, but it tends to end up being more, it's about making the handler feel like a really, really good trainer.
Yeah.
Than pushing your training.
Okay. And this is going back to where I kind of touched on this, but I'm really wondering if training dogs for a lot of people is like a power control kind of thing, where they feel like they're in control. They have this sexy power of, I can tell this creature out. Yeah. To not bite the decoy and out. And that's why we stay in that comfort zone of control, and we don't push the arousal, because then it becomes messy. When it becomes messy, we're out of control, and it's this big spiral.
Yeah, but that was the other brain cramp. So I'm still on this one. And the way I tend to train is that if the dog solves it very quickly, which might be kind of the equivalent of what he's talking about with the number of hides. If the dog solves it really quickly, it's too easy. So for me, I kind of try to go based off of the amount of time it takes. which I think might be along those same lines of thinking. So I'm trying to come from what I know and what I use that works, and trying to draw parallels. That's kind of where my brain was cramping, is kind of like trying to say, okay, his perspective here, this is what it means, and this is, that's why my brain was cramping, because I was kind of pulling all that together.
I think I go back to Muscatatuck with the nosework handlers too, that they said that they were hides that they had never thought to do before.
Mm-hmm.
And it was places they had never imagined to try. And so I think that's the imagination piece, that he's saying, push your imagination to put them in places you would never imagine, that you've never tried before.
Well, and even for the nosework handler and some of the cadaver dog handlers at Muscatatuck, having hides that had been out or in a particular location for 3 days.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot. Mm-hmm. And, it's, I know we just finished up by the time this airs, it will be a couple of weeks ago. We finished up the art and science of setting hides.
Mm-hmm.
And in that particular class, it was a lot about where you can set a hide. You had to be somewhat imaginative because you were trying to create a certain type of effect with your odor.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate the push to still be imaginative. The whole concept of setting out hides, and Nico, or my explosives or narcotics dogs, I can now feel myself go, okay, let's expand my brain a little bit, mm-hmm. so that I can push their training.
Yeah. Yeah.
That happened too with the participants. You had a turtle person, you had a toy person, you had a cadaver person, you had nosework person, not person, but people of each group.
Correct. And so it was really interesting in that particular class to not only push the handlers, but to push me and Crystal as the instructors to think about exercises that could be given all across all of those participants. And then I started thinking about when Jens was speaking about the problems that I set up for my own personal dogs, detection wise, mm-hmm. and how, yes, I set up problems that operationally tell me this is how I should set them up so that my dogs know that these are the places mm-hmm. that they should check. But it's kind of like, mm-hmm. I'm going to pick on the nosework people for a second. I should stop hiding them on chairs.
Yes. No more chair. And
no more chairs. No more chairs, no more garbage cans.
No more chairs, no more garbage cans. Yeah.
Right. I need to start thinking of different places to set my hides so that my dogs realize they have to search, and it pushes their abilities, because when we're talking about, oh my God, this blew my mind. Dogs that can tell you by which cone that they choose on which predator that they are following. If they can figure that stuff out, and we can train it with some reliability, maybe we should push our training a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, I know, just kind of going back the whole idea about like that Muscatatuck thing with the nosework, like hides that we just don't see. I think it comes down to what norms are. And I think when we're setting hides and we set hides within a specific norm and we get into patterns that we don't even know we're in, that's where that was really valuable, because when you have somebody setting hides that are not in your patterns, that stretches your creativity, right?
Yes.
And it shows you where your blind spots are. I think it's more about the blind spots there than anything.
I usually get the question from people, why would I set things that aren't going to be norms in competition? Like, why would I set something that's going to sit for 3 days?
Oh, absolutely. You absolutely need to. Yeah, you absolutely need to. Yeah.
Why?
Well, because basically it's kind of like I kind of picture this, like your dog has this domain of knowledge, right? And your nosework or your competitive hides are going to bounce around within that domain of knowledge. You know what I mean? I kind of picture it like a bubble, and they're bouncing around in that domain of knowledge. And if that bubble is too small, those hides are just not going to, you're not gonna be able to source those hides. You almost need to have the domain of knowledge bigger than where those where those hides are going to bounce around in. If that's I don't know if that kind of visual makes sense. It makes sense in my head because I want a bigger domain of knowledge. I know that's kind of weird, but I want a bigger domain of knowledge than I want for the within the realm of possibility in a competition, because then my dog has more to draw on, and my dog's gonna be more effective and is gonna be faster at finding the hides. So
aren't you just going to confuse them?
no, the dog's gonna have more to draw upon, right? So it's like they're, you set a hide if you only set them on trash cans and chairs, that's all they're going to search for, right? But if all of a sudden you set a hide that maybe just is like, whoa, I didn't even think about that, then instead of the dog checking a chair, they're going to start using their nose instead of just relying on their contextual.
Well, and I think about it as us really starting to have, all of those snapshots for our dogs of, let's look at how many snapshots of chairs and trash cans, because my bomb dogs has lots of snapshots of trash cans. Mm-hmm. He also has lots of snapshots of really large flower pots. And, the narcotics dogs have, cars, lots of snapshots of all sorts of cars that way.
Yeah. And they need that too.
Right. But I also, it's hard for me to set up really complex odor issues all of the times when it's sat out for 30 minutes in a vehicle setting. So, and do they know how to crawl all the way underneath the car? Because sometimes some certifying official or whatever might decide to plant a hide all the way in the middle of a car underneath. So they need to have that snapshot too. And if we are only limited by, and then I think of the cadaver dogs and all of the options for them for things. The more snapshots we can give our dogs, the more resilient they're going to be in order to solve the problems that they find when we're working in a trial or testing or operational environment.
So question for you, Robin. And I don't know, you probably already do this, but this is just me kind of thinking out loud, right? So in terms of like, if you set your HR hides the way you set like that your narcotics dogs would expect, and then you set your narcotics hides the way your HR dogs would expect.
I literally am at the point where, because I have the number of dogs that I do, I set out hides. The first round of whatever I'm setting out is the one that needs to set the longest.
Yeah.
So I often set my cadaver out first, and I'll set my explosives, then I'll set my narcotics, and then I go train obedience.
Yeah.
And I do all of those sorts of things. And I do set hides. I set my narcotics hides my narcotics and my explosives hides tend to get set a lot the same. Cars.
Yeah.
Buildings, whatever. The cadaver dog stuff I set a little bit differently, maybe. But yes, I actually, for me, it has more to do with knowing how that odor presents than it is what the hide is.
Yeah. And I guess where my head went was the value for the hides at Muscatatuck for the nose work.
Oh, yeah.
Was because the hides were set like HR.
Yes.
And if we're setting our hides like nose work and only nose work, and we don't think about the other possibilities, we're limiting our dog's understanding of scent theory.
Yes, absolutely.
And
100%.
so for instance, we very rarely see a hide on top of a flat surface like a table. It's just not the way hides are typically set, right? It's just not the norm. Occasionally you will, and I've seen it, and none of the dogs find it. But when I worked with, like, for instance, like Christy, right? And I spent a week in Kansas City with Christy Rock, right? It was awesome. She set a couple hides like that, and I saw powder like spin up, and she was like, "Whoa, what is going on with this odor?" And then fast forward, she starts checking above those flat surfaces. So she learned. So now I have a dog with a bigger skill set. Now I go into a trial, like a summit trial, and there's going to be more complicated hides. Now my dog has a bigger skill set. And so I guess that's kind of what I'm referring to. And I
Absolutely
love it. Yeah.
My job as a trainer is to create skill sets in my dog so that when we are confronted with stuff, I mean, that's the definition of fluency in my mind, because I can't train everywhere for everything, but I can sure overtrain in areas and make things and set stuff weird, because weird happens in real life.
Yes.
All of the time.
And so that goes back to like the Jens thing.
Yes.
So instead of me going, what, 10 hides? Where do you,
right.
It's crazy, right? Instead of thinking about it that way, it's kind of more thinking about
creativity,
expanding the skill set and
well,
really
the big valuable point for that with me is the whole understanding that as a trainer, my dog should not find every hide.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you're making things too easy.
Or I'm making things too easy.
Yeah. And our imagination is bad.
Yes.
I was like, yes.
Says our imagination expert over here.
Preach.
Right. Well, and he's right, because
here's the thing. We go back to, people don't want messy. People don't want negative marks. Everybody wants their A+. They want their sticker. And I'm saying everybody as this, generalization that I think people can relate to, or they can think of somebody like it if it's not them. That we want to be right. We want our dogs to be right. We want to have control. We want to show that we're good trainers. And we keep seeing all these snapshots on social media of all this beautiful and all this great. And we don't see the messy, and we don't understand that messy is part of the process.
Right.
And it all circles back to that.
It's the iceberg, right? They see what's at the tip of the iceberg. They don't see what the work that's gone into.
And then that's where the arousal stuff comes back in. Let's keep it low arousal so it doesn't get messy. And let's keep it calm, and let's keep it comfortable. And then now when you throw in this other thing, people get furious. Why'd you trick me? Why'd you trick my dog? No, this is not tricking. This is teaching. There's a difference. But that's where it goes back to Robin's wicked versus kind. Because if people are feeling like it's wicked, you've done something before you even set that problem up. There's something in that environment, something in that relationship that's already amiss. And that's about who you train with and how you train with them. So it's
well, and it was one of the other things that kind of also had me my brain cramp was the whole concept that you can train everything under, low arousal. They can do it beautifully in low arousal, but as soon as you increase their arousal level, it's like they've never done it before.
It goes to hell. Yeah.
Right. And I'm just like, oh,
yeah.
Right. Which is something that's interesting for me, especially with the bird dog stuff. Cause oh my gosh, talk about arousal level. Now there's dead ducks flying everywhere. And my dogs are like, dead ducks. Yeah. And so just to have that particular type of conversation and now has me looking at some of my training just a little bit differently on, okay, so there's maybe my definition of proficiency and fluent. Now, fluent also needs to include doing it in high arousal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So because, I look at poor Nico doing hot onloads and offloads off of helicopters. If nothing's going to increase your arousal, and then you got to go to work.
That would increase mine.
Yeah, it increased mine as well. So that's the sort of thing that having these particular type of conversations with people who, are, doing special forces work with people. Oh, those dogs have to be able to do it under high arousal. How does that happen?
Now that's fluency.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's fluency right there.
And I'll still go back to I can't believe you have 3 cones and the dog has to pick the right cone, is picking the right cone to tell you which species it's tracking. Yeah. I was like, wow.
Man, I'm telling you, we don't give dogs enough credit.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. But the arousal thing is a really, really good point. I mean, it's like, I have high arousal dogs. Like I've got dogs that are high drive and high arousal both. Right. And I love it. And I know it's actually really hard, honestly, to handle them sometimes effectively, but because it actually takes more fluency, I think, for them to really be effective. So I'm kind of always like, I feel like I'm always kind of riding that edge, you know what I mean? Where, things could like just spin out of control if I'm not careful. And so I feel that arousal. I really do. I like that arousal versus fluency.
Well, and the arousal versus drive
Yeah.
detection.
Yeah, well, even that, I mean, they have the drive.
Oh yeah,
So it's
absolutely.
not a lack of drive, but it's more like, so for instance, the container stuff that I dealt with powder.
Yes.
The reason why it took a year to become reliable in a trial situation was because of arousal.
Right.
And so what I did was I actually had I tour rewarded for that exercise, and I was actually raising and lowering the arousal in the exercise as I increased and decreased the size of the hole to get the train final response on.
Well, and I appreciate the discussion around arousal versus drive.
Yes.
Because as a breeder,
yeah,
I have a puppy
mm-hmm.
who I could spin her up really, really fast.
Mm-hmm.
If I needed to, but I really like the lower arousal, but the drive is there.
Yeah.
And I, and it's interesting how, we were talking about vocalization because a lot of people are like, oh my God, vocalization, look at all that drive. And he's like, yeah, no, that's arousal.
No. Yeah.
And so
I've learned that's leaking. That's leaking. Yes.
And for what he does, that dog's out because the last thing you want is a screaming dog when you're trying to sneak up on people. So
right.
it's, and then the whole conversations about motivators and what is motivating the dog. And I can't wait to re-listen to
I'm
it.
so lucky. Next week I get to do a high drive dog 1 day kind of seminar workshop. I don't know what you call those things, through FDSA. And the whole idea of drive and arousal are exactly what it's about, and kind of the passion of what I work with, having the bitey dogs, and then also having higher drive detection dogs that also tend to have higher arousal.
Yeah.
And thinking about that arousal, one of the questions I asked him was if he taught the dogs to bring the dogs, to teach them how to bring themselves down and up. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he quite understood the question that I asked, because I felt like it wasn't exactly the answer.
Yeah.
So I'm unsure there. But I know in the seminar that he taught here in Des Moines, he talked about ways to control arousal. Was one of the most important was to control the time of the event, because that would also control some of the enjoyment. The physical activity in the event also is going to control a lot of the arousal, because he mentioned, it brings up the heart rate, brings up the respiration.
Can you expand on that a little bit? Because we didn't cover that in the interview, and it's interesting concept.
That's all it is.
No,
I mean, if you're trying to control the dog's arousal, and they are just jacked through the roof, first things first, if you're trying to teach in high arousal, you're not going to continue teaching this. No, I'm still going to teach in high arousal.
Okay.
Absolutely. I have no fear of that. And I love it. It's like the thrill seeking part. It's like, oh, buddy, it's going to get messy, and here we go. Because you can't always teach in low arousal. And yes, it's nice to bring those little steps up. And I'd like to say that I can, with expertise, tell you exactly at what level between 1 and 10 of arousal my dog is. And I'm going to teach him at a 3 and then take it to a 4 and take it. No, it's not going to happen.
No,
something's going to change. Yep. Chewy's going to walk by the garage and I didn't notice it. And the arousal went up to a 6 when I thought it was going to be a 4. And all of a sudden we're there. So I have ways of helping my dog either come up or down by changing the activity. So if I start tugging for my dog, it brings the arousal up. Now, for some dogs, tugging is going to bring their arousal down, because I thought it was a great example when he talked about, I think, what was it? At some point, he had said something about the lab, of just controlling that arousal that way. So you're satiating their internal drives, those selective drives like Joe Rosie talked about. And when we're tapping into that, we have to know, what do they enjoy? The chase, the retrieve, what activities, because those activities are either going to satiate that need, and it's actually going to bring their drive down some, not their drive, their arousal down some.
Okay.
Or If it's something that, like for Radish, when I start tugging with her, it brings her arousal up.
Okay.
So I know that about her. So if she's a little bit on the flat side, I'm not going to send her for a search or ask her to do anything until I get her arousal up. And I had a great example of that at the last seminar where Robin and I, we have from 7:30 to 9 that we train, and she came in flat. I saw it. I even said it. And then what did I do? I said, let's work. And guess what she did? She did not work.
Nope.
She got distracted because I did not have the arousal in the right space. Yeah. And the drive for the activity that I wanted to do was not high enough.
Right.
So I had to manipulate it by bringing up her arousal through exercise, through her heart rate, her respiration coming up. You get the blood flow going. And then it's like, okay, now she's in it. Now we started healing, and healing is hard work. It's really hard work. And I wanted to do things to show the students, which really wasn't necessarily what we needed to work on, but it was helpful for them. And so that was what I went with. I'm like, okay. But when I get their arousal too high, I'm going to make the tasks easier.
Right.
And so I think that's what people forget sometimes. And I don't mean make it easier in the same repetition, because then you get the dog that says, oh, it was too hard. So now if I wuss out of it for a second, mom's going to fix it and make it easier. That's for searching. That's for training. That's just across the board. So I think we say we can't control their arousal, but we absolutely can. We can really do a good job of bringing it up. And we also have the dogs that aren't the neurotypical dogs too, and they can puddle down. So you can have a dog that was really up there and doing it, and now they're sniffing or they're laying down, or they just seem completely just dull. Yeah. And it's because their arousal is actually too high. And that can really freak some people out if they've never seen that before.
Yeah, that's actually happened. Like when Powder gets frustrated, like, because then there's arousal that's usable for her that kind of just channels in with the drive. But I've seen her when she gets frustrated, she actually gets very like sniffing the ground and just like distracted and very frantic. That is absolutely, it's one of those things where it's like, it just is like, I just need to just like stop what we're doing.
Yeah.
It sounds like that's kind of like what you're talking about, where I'm just like, nope, we just needs to stop, That's
exactly what my webinar is. It's about having fascination instead of frustration.
Yeah.
So when we can take it as information, we can change our mindset and we can go, okay, I don't need to get pissed here. My dog doesn't need to have these feelings. Exactly. So what can I do? And to step back and go, these are all behaviors. This is just a mindset.
And I think that webinar is going to happen
before.
No, it's the week after this.
Oh, it's a week after this. So
yeah, because it's July 14th.
Yeah, make sure. Cool. So we'll include that in the show notes to make sure you guys register for that.
And we have a roundtable too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't wait to listen.
Me too.
That will be very exciting.
I'm like so stoked to see the other people's presentations. I'm like, yeah, sign me up, baby.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, nice. The topics are really good. Topics are really, really good. They really do. Yeah, but it was kind of interesting, the whole concept around drive and arousal. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, it got my head turning, like the cogs turning, right? And the whole concept of what is your optimal arousal for what you're trying to do. And I've been thinking about this a lot. Like I've just been, because I've had the opportunity through, watching you guys and going to Muscatatuck, and then also, going out and training with Christy and
Tazzy too.
Yeah. Well, and this is more like the HR stuff. This is very specific to setting HR hides. That seeing human remains dogs work, it seems that the optimal arousal is actually different than what I might be looking for in competition with a shorter time frame. So I'm looking at kind of a little bit more of a compressed time frame where I have to work at a very high rate of speed. And that level of arousal might not be the same level of arousal. And this is just my assumptions based on just what I'm observing. I don't even know if it's correct. This is just my observation. So that so I'm looking actually to get that speed, I actually want a slightly higher arousal than if you're going to go out and you're going to search for a half an hour. Because if you have the same level of arousal that I'm working with, you're just going to burn out your dog. And
absolutely. But I also think of, a dog like Nico.
Yeah.
I don't need him at a high arousal to do a whole lot.
No.
Or even Sheba. she comes high arousal.
Yeah.
Or even flare. And I think, and so some of that is really dog dependent.
Yeah.
And, do you need a slow burn?
Yeah.
And that depends on your dog, because why you need a slow burn.
Oh, with why? Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
he will get overwhelmed very, very, very
correct.
easily. Like if you do a little bit too much, he's just going to be like, I'm out.
Yeah. And so I think that is really finding that optimal level at what the dog arousal level for the task that you are asking them to do is actually key.
Yeah.
But then also, can you take them to that next level of arousal and still have them do the job?
But the drive has to sustain that arousal. So with Y, for instance, doesn't have that drive. So he can't sustain that arousal.
So, it's that whole arousal versus drive discussion is fascinating. And then when you go into dog selection for those agencies that are trying to select dogs, to really be aware of the difference between arousal and drive and start having those discussions, because it's really easy when you have a dog that has medium level drive and high arousal to mask lack of drive with high arousal.
Oh yeah.
And so that becomes really, really important when you start.
Yeah. Medium drive and high arousal. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that's just interesting. And Crystal, I greatly appreciate you bringing up the whole concept about not rewarding effort.
Yes. I love that.
There's a lot there.
There's a lot there.
There is.
Because we want them to be comfortable. We want them to feel like they're succeeding, because then we feel like we're succeeding.
Yeah. And I have to kind of unpack a little bit here. I started at an idea a long time ago, and I misnamed it. I called it an effort cookie, and I don't mean it that way. A lot of people take it and they're like, oh, here's a cookie. You tried hard. I'm like, no. That's not what we're talking about. So I just want to put a caveat there. So if you're listening to me and you're like, oh, but no, I was referring more to dogs that had low confidence, that just had their arousal went a little blippy. And you're like, hey, come over here. Let's just lower your arousal a little bit. So when I call it that, for those of you who have taken my class and you're like, yeah, but I just want to that's my little sidebar. But yeah.
Clearing up your definition.
Exactly. I'm just clearing up definitions here. Yeah. I'm not into like, oh, the dog, kind of half solved it. Let's give them a cookie. Or
no,
I think they looked up and I know the hide's up. Here's your reward. No.
That's and the reward of, so I'm going to reinforce you for a half sit.
Yeah, no.
Which is different for me than I will reinforce you at the end of a search.
Yes.
And so thank you for expending energy.
Exactly.
It may not be that toy. Here's for Nico, a couple of cookies at the end of a search is more like, hey, thanks for coming back when I called your name.
Yeah.
I think in our training today, there was a good example of that. When I had Yukon, and he was on the table, and it just like what is it? Climb? I forget.
Climb.
Yeah, climb.
Yeah.
And it was in Robin's garage, and I was just tinkering around. I didn't have any real training goals for him. I don't have progression plans for him. He's just my fun boy that I like to train. And so they were doing some directionals. And so I thought, okay, we'll kind of play along too. We'll see what he knows, whatever. And his feet shifted a little. And so then on his sit, when I started to walk around him, and so I stopped and I used reverse lure that I had, taken from Fanny Got. And when I came back around in the front, I had said free, which means stop doing what you're doing, reset yourself, and now jump back up there and try the thing again. And then I could reinforce. So some might say that free is a reinforcement because it's allowing movement and allowing another opportunity, and you're putting it all into a chain. But here's what I'm seeing with using this. It gives them a chance to make it better and to find out what I need.
Yep.
And that try again kind of thing, I think is really nice for the dog. I didn't want to reward it, but I also didn't want to punish it.
Yeah.
So it's like a second chance of, you know what? I think you can figure it out if you try it again. Yeah. And then when he did it correct the second time, hey, now I can give you a reward for it. So those are the things that I have to consider, of how you can think about, if I can't reinforce it, then how can I make it? So I'm just trying to give another option of how you can do that.
Yeah. And I had another thing come up actually right in between because we did this right after talking to Jens, right? And I was thinking about this when I took my dogs out to go to the bathroom. And I want to talk to you guys about this because, I took out, so Brava and Prize were out going to the bathroom, and I called them, and they get a reward after they come back in, but I am not going to yell out my door, cookies, that is a lure. I am not doing that garbage, right? So I call them, Prize comes running. Brava's like, no, I think I'm going to sniff this little rabbit hole. So Prize comes in, and Prize is sitting there. I give her a cookie. Brava's like, oh, hey, I want one too. And she comes running, and I'm like, missed it. I don't want to reward that little if you're like, well, I guess I'll come after I keep sniffing the rabbit hole.
Absolutely. I'm not rewarding effort.
Exactly. I'm rewarding effort and be like, that is going to train in, oh, just ignore me. And then come when you feel like it. So
correct.
So basically she just sat there while I gave Prize a cookie. I'm like, you missed your chance, kid. Tomorrow
you get another chance. Yeah.
Cookie.
So she only potties once a day? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, no. No, but she won't be out loose.
I got you.
I don't let them let loose after dark because we have all kinds of like skunks.
I don't know why that would be a problem. Why are skunks a problem? I guess I earned that one. Thank you. Thank you, Stacy. Good job.
You're welcome. We have all kinds of critters like that. So they go out on leash after dark because I don't want to have to deal with that. So yeah, it'll be tomorrow.
Now, the other thing that happens too, though, is people don't recognize that when the dog, sniffed that rabbit hole, that was reinforcing in itself.
Yeah.
And that, another dog or your dog even possibly would say next time, that's okay. This rabbit hole is still better than that cookie. And if the cookie is a variable and I don't know if I'm getting it or not, then I'm just going to stay here and do this thing. Yeah. And then it's like, well, now what do I do?
Yeah. And well, then it comes down to well, maybe if that rabbit hole is really, really interesting, because I know the rabbits are no longer there. I've checked. Is now I have to manage that. Right. I would put something over it maybe, and then be reinforcing coming when I call. And then once you get a little bit more fluent there, right, then we can uncover it again. But yeah, I'm not going to. So anyway, I had that in that thing, and I'm like, oh, I need to talk about this rewarding effort thing when we get together and we do the reflections, because I'm not giving you a cookie for.
Well, and it was the whole concept around the fact where he was talking about, understanding the operant condition in quadrangle. Yeah. And okay, yeah, it's great for us to understand that. But the other thing that came glaring out to me is what we think is reinforcing, the dog may actually think is punishing. So the only way you really know that is if the behavior increases or decreases. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have to probably have a couple margaritas and think about that one. But just because we get so caught up in the positive, negative debate on how all of that works, and then it goes back, is that doing what you actually think it's doing, or is that doing it because it makes you feel better?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is probably too far off from what you just said, but my brain went here, so follow along.
Okay.
He was also talking there about drives as motivation and being specific about what drives them. Are they retrieving? Are they tugging? Are they carrying? He pointed all that, the searching. And when he talked about negative things to enhance, he talked about using deprivation. And something that really hit me today as we were training was I didn't bring a toy out once for checkmate, and he was in the game. And it was just little sausages, and they're okay. It's better than kibble, but it's not as good as other things. And I felt like he was just so joyous and so fun to work. And I couldn't have done that before hip surgery. Now I know there's twofold thing there. So there's the hip surgery doesn't hurt as much, but also deprivation played.
Yeah, he didn't get to train.
He didn't get
to train. And then we did finally get to train. All we can train with is food because the toy is too physical. And he appreciates the ability to train. And so I'm wondering if, because I've used the toys to build the desire to do the things with me, and now he is so like excited about just doing the things, that the food is enough. And I want to keep that balance. And so it makes me kind of wonder, okay, the people out there that are like, my dog will not train for food, they will only do it for toys. I'm not saying deprive them of those things, because he also said, which I'm always preaching this, about letting them express their drives. If they love to fight, if they love to chase, don't take that away from them, but instead manipulate it, harness it. It's not a problematic thing. Reimagine it, because it's something very useful that you can now use in your training. So that deprivation of not getting to train and not getting to have toys, it was amazing watching how happy he is and how excited he is for food now. So this is something I have to really focus on, keeping that balance so that it doesn't become it's only toys again, that I have this really nice food that I can use. That was, I don't know if it with what you were saying, but
no, it's absolutely.
No, but that's blowing my mind, because I have Labradors and I'm just thinking food. Sorry. I'm literally just trying to like.
Radish is the worst. She has the worst food drive of all three of them. Yukon has the best. Checkmate's pretty good, and now he's really good. And Radish is the worst by far.
Well, and I was thinking about the whole fact that, when I was training up like Ember, for example, to do narcotics work, and she immense amounts of retrieve until she drops, but I trained her whole detection chain beginning with food and getting, she looked at me like I had grown two heads the first time she did her trained final response on odor, and I clicked her and threw a toy. She's like, where's my food?
Having that problem with powder. I want to try to get her more on it, to be able to play on it with a toy. And she's like, but
that's not the rules. And so, that's one of those things where you just don't fix it if it's not broke. And you do it in incremental little steps. And it might be, here's food. Now let's play with a toy. All at the same time. And, one of the glorious things about training with Crystal's like, well, duh, do both. And so that's actually been a game changer for some, because, we have to do a toy. You have to do a toy. You can only do a toy. And then you can only do tug with a toy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, coming from no torque, it's always been, well, food. And now I'm like, oh, there's a lot of power in being able to at least train with both.
Well, talk about arousal levels right there.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's been huge with the last group too. We had a higher arousal, low drive. We had a very low arousal with medium drive. We had the stories of low arousal, low drive, and being able to help each of them through with how to play, how to switch from food to toys. Wow. I mean, it just tickles your brain like no other. And that's where the imagination comes from. So if you're training with the people that have similar dogs to yours, yay, because you have someone to relate to, but reach out and try to see if you can start training with the people that have, higher than your arousal, and then also higher than your drive, and start to see the differences. And you will learn so much more of how to incorporate that into your own training.
I love that. That sounds like a really awesome weekend you guys had.
Yeah. It was amazing. And so I think
the last 2 weeks have blown my mind. My gosh. Well, I mean, in California was all the different dogs of different arousals and drives, and I'm just in heaven.
It's like there's play magic, and that's Crystal.
Yes,
you're so funny.
I just like picture you with like your wizard coat.
Well, actually, one of the things that got coined this weekend was that you crystallize it. Oh. Right? I was like, oh, somebody was very wicked with that one. That was awesome.
That beats my crystal ball.
Yeah.
You guys, I'm dying here.
So I greatly appreciated one of the other questions we asked Jens was what do you wish for?
Yeah.
And he and I had talked about it when he was here in Iowa about a graduate student or somebody to be able to go through the research, because I keep an eye on the research. There's some fabulous research coming out, but I read it and I'm a geek. And
what?
I know, stop it. And so I appreciate
Thanks for letting me know.
it. Yeah, I appreciate it. And the fact he's so right, what the faculty get reinforced for in the university structure is different than what practitioners need to be able to actually change their training methods and understand things from like 1908. And so
the new findings.
the new findings from 1908. And so I greatly would love to be able to support a graduate student to be able to do that. So
yes.
because I think practitioners everywhere would greatly appreciate that.
Hint, hint.
Hint, hint.
There's this thing called Canine Census Foundation, nonprofit,
Could definitely hold a project and be able to fund that in association with the Scandinavian Working Dog Institute.
That just sounds just terrible, doesn't
it? Yeah. I have a project fund for that stuff like that the money gets earmarked. It doesn't go for anything else.
Yeah, if only.
Yeah. Huh. So
what'd you guys think about his testing of dogs when he said, just let him go out and hunt for the 5 minutes?
That's very common.
Yeah.
It was. And so the question was, is that in a known or in a more distracting area? Because I guess
unknown.
He said unknown.
Unknown, exactly. So that was my initial thought there, because then I started connecting the dots between that and arousal and distraction and and all that. But it was very interesting, just the whole, if the dog is actually lower or moderate low drive and high arousal, the dog's not going to search for 5 minutes.
I had a little stress. I tried it with Radish after we left that day.
Yeah.
We went to a park, Nancy and I did, and we were at this little skate park, and it just, I don't know, it was just there. And we'd never been there, obviously. We're in a different place.
Yeah.
And I put Radish's ball out. She found it. And then I pretended like I put it down, out again. And I'm like, okay, let's see how long you'll search, sweet little Radish. She did so good. It was so cool to just watch her search. And that was a big learning opportunity for me, to just sit back and watch her work and just to see what her natural tendencies were. And then some stuff I've already trained, because we've been training for a while. But it was fascinating just to watch the dog work without anything there to see, can she go that amount of time? And then that transitions back to a big aha that I had this last weekend. We did a systematic search seminar a couple of weeks ago. And now it's about a month ago when time this airs. And Robin taught a lot of the wall and how her dogs search the bricks and how they are so you can hear their nostrils going in and out on every single little hole of these little mason bricks that have 6 holes in them instead of the typical 2.
Yep.
And then this weekend we saw how when she kind of presented an area in the chicken coop, it's how many chickens are in there? 100 chickens. It seemed
there's a bunch of chickens.
Yeah, a bunch of chickens. There's cats going through. It's where the raccoons like to come in. This place is Distractionville. And she doesn't train in there because she has other cool places to train, which still I'm like, really? And
I'm like, Fleur hasn't been in there since she was 10 months or 10 weeks old.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And so she sends her off in here to find a blind hide that one of the students had placed. And it was in a place that Robin would have never hit it. So that was a cool thing.
Oh.
And seeing that dedication to sniffing, I mean, I bet that she did the same sniffing, that same intensity of sniffing that she does on that wall in all of this stuff, just over and over and over again, because that's what she does. And it was just that intensity. Whoo, it was pretty. But then I also had that aha moment of oh crap, the handler, the trainer, is so important in that equation, because if she didn't turn her shoulders to get her out of that area,
she'd
stay there till she died. She was like, no, I'm going to keep searching here. And when she turned her shoulders, it put her right into the odor in the other place, and boom, she hit it. It was aha. It was great.
It's because we were talking about messy training and the imagination piece and all sorts of things. And it was great to hear some of the students. We were having the whole conversation about the fact that training is messy.
Yeah. Yep.
It's not that pretty 30-second marketing video that everybody posts all of the time. It is the things that you don't post on social media because you're going to get 500 people making suggestions and all sorts of things that are really not all that helpful.
30-second videos are an outcome of all the messy stuff that you put into it.
Yes. I mean, that's like hours of foundational. And I think about, him talking about progression plans. And it was really, really interesting for me to hear about, I can't even imagine. I know Jens has hundreds, if not thousands of spreadsheets of stuff.
Yeah, he kind of laughed about that, didn't he?
Yeah, he didn't give us a number. And I think about the fact that, the reason that they wrote the progression plans or started writing them down and have now put them in the app is because they're actually supporting their clientele.
Right.
And which is fabulous because I have bought like most of the modules. And I use it as a way to help branch out on that imagination piece. It also keeps me honest.
Yeah.
Because the super cool systematic search stuff that Flair was doing, she wouldn't do that if I hadn't followed a very, very specific, this is how we build doing a 10-minute search on a wall or whatever I tell you to go search.
Right.
And they don't offer a false alert or an unproductive alert because odor's not there.
Right.
That progression plan stuff and oh my gosh, your sliced bread thing.
Oh, that's a great.
It was awesome.
I can see so many trainers in so many moments that I can actually think of, like, I've handed them a loaf of bread and I can almost see them like grabbing it with big old bare hands and like ripping it in pieces, being like, there, I sliced it.
Yeah.
But I also got really into the thought of the tool. You have to have the right tools for the job as well. And so if I'm cutting it with a dull, knife, or if I'm cutting it with a spoon, or if I'm cutting it with, even a knife that's long enough that it's not made for bread, it's still going to just smash it. And so that's the messiness. And it feels like as you get better over time, you have more tools that you can choose from. And so that's why I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of a good one.
That is a good one.
That was So I am so grateful to Jens for taking the time to spend with us to talk about all of these weird random questions that we had for him. And I encourage everybody to go out and check out his website, check out the Institute's website, follow them on Facebook, check them out on YouTube. Some of their videos are inspirational on YouTube. And
I'd like to know our takeaways. Are we going to do that today?
We are going to do that today.
And I'm just sitting here going, what in the heck is my takeaway? Like, I've been talking about takeaways the whole episode.
I think I'm going to add one more thing to it then.
Yeah, go for it.
Takeaway edition. I'm thinking about, there was a blog post that I shared on my CBK9 page or group or whatever in Facebook. And it was from Danny Miranda, and it was called Why I Publish Bad Episodes, Notes on Creation, Confidence, and Our Faulty Perceptions of Self. So yes, I found it really fast so I could say that. And it was cool because he talked about why people don't release their creations. And he really hit on the fact that their ego gets in the way. Mm-hmm. And it was several months that he was sitting on this episode, and he finally was like, whatever, I'll share it. And he figured, it's an artifact for future me. It's where I was at the point in this journey. Because I do that a lot. I mean, I shared training videos every single day. Don't care if it's good. Don't care if it's bad. It's just what I did. And I haven't trained in a long time because when I lost Quinn, it was almost punishing to train. And so I'm finally getting out of that. And I'm excited about training again. And when you think about that, not sharing and your ego getting in the way, I think it's interesting when you start to realize either people don't really care that much, they just don't, or they don't even know what they're watching. And there were so many times that I shared stuff and people got inspired by it and messaged me and asked for, hey, how did you do that? What are you doing? And that felt good to know that the right people cared and they wanted to learn more. And it also gave me a chance at the people that maybe would not be as nice. I don't have to have them on my Facebook feed anymore.
It's amazing how that works. They self-select, right?
Yeah, but it's, share the flaws and ahs. And I guess that's where I am again. So the challenge, show your bad side. Probably nothing's going to happen. Just, you got to act with good intent and kindness. And so that's my goal again. I'm going to start sharing daily posts again. And I'm excited about that. I'm excited to be back to training. And Denise really lit a fire under me when I was out there visiting, that, my boy wants to train and I want to train, and it's let's do this.
Yeah. I can't wait to see you out there with him. I really can't.
Yay. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. So that's my takeaway, kind of addition too.
Yeah.
I have a takeaway, or Stacy, you want to go first?
Oh, no, you go first. I'm still thinking.
Ooh, you get to end it. The ending is the best.
Yeah.
Oh, no, but no, I don't wrap up, and you guys know that. I had a hard enough time doing the intro today, so.
Okay. So my takeaway is that Jens is a brilliant trainer. He is also very, very good at bridging the science into practice. 2, probably 3. I think this is now 3. I'm not imaginative enough in my dog's training, and I'm making stuff too easy.
So my takeaway is all about stretching and how you always want to make sure that you don't think it's so easy to think within that box. This goes to that creativity and thinking about it's kind of the whole, are you making it interesting enough? Are you making it different enough? Are you, do you have that creativity and that imagination in your training? And it's about stretching your perspectives and stretching your dog's skills. And personally, listening to Jens kind of helped me with that. Just sitting there listening, I'm like, oh yeah. I started connecting the dots, and it's like, continue to connect the dots with you guys here in this hour. So.
Yay. Thank you, everybody, for listening to us ramble on about our ahas and things. Let us know through the feed on Facebook, or send us a note about what you might have taken away about that particular episode, and go train.
Canine Detection Collaborative! We appreciate the time you spend with us. If you liked this episode, not only should you follow us so you don't miss the next one, but please also rate and review us in your favorite podcast app. For info on collaborating with us, go to k9detectioncollaborative.com. That's K9detectioncollaborative.com, where you can find our socials and pick up our latest monthly freebie. Join us again to talk training in the next episode.